I'm Cherish Brown, and I believe in the power of a story well told. I am so fascinated by stories that teach and inspire. On this podcast, I sit down with various people who are taking passionate responsibility for their own lives and giving it their creative best. Creative best. Creative best.
Hello, my name is Cherish Brown.
Hey, welcome to your Creative Best podcast. I'm your host, Cherish Brown, and I thank you so much for tuning in today. There's so many things you could be doing, but you decided to come pay me a visit. So for that, I want to say thank you so much. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Cherish Brown TV on YouTube, and also subscribe to Your Creative Best podcast. You can find Your Creative Best podcast on all streaming platforms. So that's Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and so on. Today, I'm sitting down with Sharbria Shine, who has been a motivational speaker, a minister, and blogger for several years. She's also an author and a playwright. She has a big show coming up. So we're going to talk about Single Woman Chronicles, which is the name of her production, and we're going to get into her journey. And so this conversation is great for anyone who has a strong desire to live their best lives and to max out their season. You definitely want to tune in. It's also a great conversation for creatives. Sharbria is not one to wait for an opportunity. She creates them for herself. So I definitely think you want to stick around. Again, thank you for tuning in, and let's get right to it. Here's my conversation with Sharbria. Hi, Sharbria.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Oh my goodness, you have an immediate glow. You have an
Aw.
immediate glow like sunshine. Anybody ever tell you that? I know somebody calls you sunshine.
Heard it, but it's so funny because now that I'm married, people are like, "Are you pregnant?"
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
now they think it's a pregnancy glow, but
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard it a lot. Yes.
You know, when you got married and I saw your last name was Shine, I'm like, that is the perfect last name for her.
Aw.
That
I'm
is
not
the
gonna
perfect-
lie. I was like, Lord, my last name's gonna be Sean. Like, that's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, it's perfect for you. You are definitely a bright light. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
It's so good to see you. Sharbria and I were talking just a few minutes before we started the show, talking about how we met. We actually met, it's maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were auditioning for a play, and so we both got in the play, and
Yeah.
and we were rehearsing together and everything, and so we just stayed in contact since then. And I was just telling her how she's always been consistent, so encouraging, so motivating. And I also want to let you know, Sharbria, that you are one of those people who don't wait for things to happen. That's not the way it seems. It doesn't seem like you just sit around and wait for things to happen.
Yeah.
You just kind of create your own opportunities and build your own thing. And that's what I've enjoyed watching from you these years. So I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
let you know that. Yeah. So, so we're going to get started. This question I'm going to ask you to kick off is a question that I ask everyone that I talk to, and it's a question about you. So
Yeah.
who is Sharbria Shine?
Oh my God, guys, I'm so complex. But really, that is a great question. So, who I am today is a person that just loves to empower people. I love to just create and just inspire people. But as far as my background, a lot of people now who meet me, they know me from like, oh, she's a speaker, she's an author, she does her YouTube videos. But what they don't really know is that I actually had a musical theater background. Like, I grew up dancing. It first started with dance and then acting and then singing. Then I went to a performing arts school and then a little bit at Columbia. And then it's always been in my heart. And then I switched to business out of the blue, guys.
Yeah.
Out of the blue, I switched to business, got a business degree, and then kind of went into management for years. And people don't know that. And it was cool. I really did like it. But that creativity within me and just loving to speak out and to reach people, I was like, oh my God, like, I need to get back into just my roots of the arts and just speaking out to people with my videos. And I love that. And of course, the business helps, right? The business degree, because that goes into what I do. And I think that's so important. But I'm just a creative person. I'm bubbly. I'm outgoing, optimistic. But I also, one thing my sister always laughs about, she says, like, when it's time for business, you're really serious. And it's true. Like
Yeah.
on one end, love to have a great time, bubbly and fun. But on the other end, when it's time to do something, I'm very goal oriented and just,
Mm-hmm.
I want to get it done. I'm all about planning and just maxing it out and getting it done on time. So
And I know we're going to talk
yeah.
about your big project that's coming out,
Yeah.
but talk to us a little bit about just your journey, like the projects that have led up to this one.
Absolutely. So actually, just I was always writing, but never
Mhm.
told anyone. Like, so
Okay.
I've written a ton of books already that I haven't even published, and stories.
Wow.
Yeah, I just love to write stories. So when I was single, I had a time, where everybody's like, oh, I'm lonely, this and that.
Mhm.
I maxed it out. Like I use that time to create. Like I just start writing
Yeah.
stories and just creating. And so it started off with actually me starting a blog. And then I started the Single Unsatisfied movement. And from there, I wrote the book, as we talked about, The Single
Mhm.
Woman's Guide to Fulfillment, Single Unsatisfied. And then from there, I know we're going to talk about the play, so I'll stop before I talk about the play. But then I wrote some other books. So I wrote a couple of teen books,
Okay.
fiction for teen girls. And then I actually wrote a musical that I've never done yet, just
Wow.
for fun. I was bored and I wrote a musical. And so
Mhm.
that's not the play that I'm doing in October, but I've always just had like projects under my sleeve. So next what's coming up is the Single Woman's Purity Guide, because I get so many questions about that journey and just that
Yeah.
experience from single women. So I'm like, let me just write the guide, let me write the book to help
Mhm.
encourage women in that journey. And so yeah, that and other books about the marriage life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
My
I
goodness.
just love to write, and I also write music. So I
Mhm.
do have an EP out right now called Rescue Me, and that's just, my journey with God, but also with relationships. So
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you just said so much. But I think the message of it all though, you said while you were single, you were
yeah.
just creating. And it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily to have a flyer out or to invite
No,
people to come see it, have an audience. You were just
no.
creating because that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's who
And
you
it was
are.
fun.
And it was fun. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so key. I
Yeah.
think that's so key, especially when we're single. We feel like we have to wait for it to be our time, our season, our moment, someone to tell us or invite us into a space. But
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are hearing it. That's not the way it's supposed to be. There's so
No.
much that you can be doing while you're waiting for anything, whether it's that
Yeah.
job, that promotion, that relationship, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Always something that you could be doing. So thank you for sharing that. Um, so let's talk Single Woman Chronicles. Did I get
Yes.
it correct? Single
Yes, you
Woman Chronicles.
did.
Okay,
You
so
did. Everyone struggles with it. I don't care.
because I want to say women so bad, but it's
Yes,
no, it's Single Woman
everyone does.
Chronicles. Okay, so tell us all about that because literally I feel like we have so much in common with the performing
Yes.
arts. I love this kind of stuff. So walk me from when you first got the idea, what led you to the idea, and how you fleshed it
Yes.
out to become this production.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when I actually got married, we moved to South Carolina because of my husband's job. Well, he was already there, so I moved there, and so I
Okay.
wasn't working anymore. And so
Okay.
that was very different. I'm like, oh, I'm a busybody. I like to stay busy. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But I did focus more, my creative projects, and I was starting to get so bored. And my husband was just like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what
Mm.
is it you want to do? You have a lot of talent. You like a lot of things. But what is that thing that's going to like make you happy? What do you want to do right now? And I was
Yeah.
like, I love musical theater. I would love to get back into musical theater.
Okay.
But in South Carolina, there wasn't much going on.
Yeah.
And so he's like, so just do it. And I'm like, what do you mean just do it? He's
Mm-hmm.
like, you don't have to write a play right now. Just do clips. Just do some fun clips on YouTube and just have
Yeah.
some fun. Literally out of the blue came Single Woman Chronicles. So I did
Wow.
an episode a week, and it was kind of funny. It was just improv monologues.
Yeah.
And I did that so I wouldn't make myself nervous. I know that sounds weird because some people like to rehearse, but I would just say, okay, I'm going to get on camera and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to go. And
Yeah.
I would just go, and then it would be what it is. And then I
Wow.
would just, one time was about a toxic relationship, another time about still being single and struggling. And so after I was done with that, I got a good response, and literally just God inspired. The play
Mm.
just started coming to me just from those little clips. And I just started to write. And so
Okay.
in about a month's time, I fleshed out this entire play. And that's why I know it was God inspired, because it was easier than writing the book, my book. It was
Wow.
much easier, which it's weird, because a play is a big production.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just able to take from those little monologues that I did major themes. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, let's create this story that's going to empower single women all over, that's going to encourage them to kind of like live their own life, make their own
Yeah.
expectations, make their own lane despite pressures of society, their parents, or maybe even the church to hurry up and get married. Like
Yeah.
make your own destiny and
Yeah.
max out your season no matter where you are. And so I challenge a lot of stigmas and just
Mm-hmm.
stereotypes of just being single. And it's funny
Mm-hmm.
too, we have some, monologues that really hone in on some of the experiences of single
Yeah.
women. So
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So, first of all, when is the production? What are
yeah.
the dates?
So it's October 23rd, of
Okay.
this year in Maryville, Indiana at
Mm-hmm.
Living Hope Church, 2 p.m. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I'll make sure I get that information from you so I can include it in here. But so are any of the monologues based on your journey, on your single journey?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So what I did with the story, it's not completely like my life story, but I
Yeah.
did take pieces of things that happened to me and friends and
Mm-hmm.
put it all together and to help make it, a little bit more juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And honestly, real to me. Like I'm a passionate person and I also am a person that I don't think I could ever be in something that I didn't feel. Even
Yeah.
if it's not my situation, because as
Mm-hmm.
actors, right, we do all kind of things that may not be our situation, but I
Mm-hmm.
have to really feel it. And so
Yeah.
this is just really like my baby. Like it's such a passion project because I'm so passionate about women finding their identity and just
Yes.
purpose apart from another human being. I'm so passionate
Right.
about that before they get married. And even if they want to stay single, just knowing that it's powerful to stand in purpose as a single woman.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a lot of my story and other women's stories. And it's just the monologues. I really feel them.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ladies who are doing the other roles. And I just feel like we will be able to, really portray that to the women who are listening to us. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So who should check out Single Woman Chronicles?
Absolutely. Honestly, everyone's asking me, like, is it just for single women? It's a
Yeah.
funny play. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So we have people that are coming that are married, that are single, that are dating, they're bringing their booze. I mean,
Yeah.
we have people like from all walks of life, and they asked about like children. So what I was telling everyone is
Mm-hmm.
teenagers and up.
Yeah.
So we would suggest probably about the youngest 12 and up, but the girls, our young girls, they need to see it. They need
Yeah.
to also learn some of these lessons. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we have all kinds of people coming.
Yeah, I feel like when you say singles, especially, in the Christian world and the church world, it gets a
Yeah.
stigma. And sometimes single people don't even want to participate or engage because they feel like they're labeled as like this like strange subgroup or something like
Yes.
that. But really, the lessons that you learn in your singlehood are life lessons, regardless, period. And, you need
Yes.
to be solidified in your identity and who you are definitely when you're single before you ever connect with another person
Yes.
in that way. So, 'cause I know you speak a lot to young women about purity.
Yeah.
So, just how you go about doing that, I still don't hear that talked about enough. I feel
Yeah.
like, and of course, there's listeners from different walks of life, but
Yeah.
for those who desire to live a life of abstinence, um, I do like to give space for that
Yeah.
conversation to let people know that they're not alone. You're not the
Right.
only person in the world
Yeah. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
this desire, or you're not the only person who may struggle with it, who has this
Yeah.
as a goal. So, just to narrow down this question,
Mhm.
first, let's start with the abstinence. Why was that important for you to include in your messaging, in your speeches, in your conversation?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, it first stemmed from my relationship with God, just
Yeah.
wanting to please him with my
Mhm.
life, with my body, but also honestly from being in a place of not being a virgin.
Mhm.
I knew what some of that sexual activity did to me in my life, the
Mhm.
soul ties, mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
even, making excuses for bad relationships. Because let's be real, if the sex is good, you making all kind of
Right.
excuses. You're like, he's the one, Amy Lauren. It's like, girl, no, that is
No,
not the
honey.
one. No, 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 no. So, just that. And also in my previous job, I learned so much about, what it does do to you mentally, the chemistry
Mm,
in your brain and those things, because I worked for a nonprofit organization who
okay.
taught us those things to teach to young people. And so
Okay.
it was so important to me when I got married, to honor God in my marriage, but also to have nothing distracting me from seeing who this person really is and developing a pure relationship truly based off of who you are, your personality,
Right.
your values, your relationship with God, how you treat me.
Mhm.
Can we actually develop a strong bond without having sexual activity?
Right.
So for me, those things were so important.
Mhm.
And sometimes it seems impossible. I mean, I hear women all the time like, there is no man out there like that. Girl,
Right.
please, especially not the kind of man I want. He's gonna be
Mhm.
lame or he's gonna be this or that.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people's experiences, right?
Mhm.
I've heard that a lot. And for me, it boils down to trusting God with my life and like, hey
Mhm.
God, if you promise to give me the desires of my heart and you created marriage and purity is important to you, then I know you got a man out there for me
Yeah.
and I'm not going to settle for less. I'm going to
Yeah.
trust you in this. And that doesn't mean the journey is always easy because girl, sometimes it was not. I mean, people try to pretend like I was active for 50 years and it was
Yeah.
nothing.
Not 50
Okay,
years.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was tough, at times,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I had to keep myself busy, occupied in God's word around the right people who would hold
Mhm.
me accountable. I had an accountability partner, even though I wanted to feel like I'm a grown woman, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need that,
Yeah.
And then in my dating process up front, I kind of just wanted to know where that man was. And that really helped to weed out a lot of people that would actually take me down a road that, wouldn't end up being
Yeah.
abstinent. But let's be real, it can be two people that want to be abstinent and your passion. You can just fall because you're in love or,
Yeah.
you have hormones, you're human.
Yeah.
So I do want to say for those who are Christian, sex is not bad. I think sometimes there's a stigma that it's dirty or it's
Right.
bad. Girl, no, it's like we were created that way. It's
Mhm.
nothing bad. It's a beautiful thing in the right context.
Mhm.
So
In the
yeah,
right context. Context is so key. So, your three takeaways for me were trust God. If you're
yeah,
on this journey and you're trying to find the, quick, clear cut way to
yeah,
try to safeguard yourself, number one, you got to trust God that this is a possible option for your
yeah,
life. You got to trust God to bring that right person to you. Also, accountability.
hmm,
Surrounding yourself with people who know your desires, know your goals, but also know that you're human. So, who can
yes,
see you in context of where you want your life to go, and I'm speaking
yeah,
very just plain practical here. You love God, you want to live a certain way. Okay, that's
hmm,
a goal. So you
yeah,
set that goal just like you would set a business goal, an educational goal, whatever else.
yeah,
So trusting God, having accountability, that community, and then setting boundaries, with the person that you're with. Now, see, this is a question that is
yeah,
interesting because just say you meet a person,
uh-huh,
when do you have this conversation to
yeah.
try to figure out
Where they are with it.
where they are with
Yeah,
that? Do
yeah,
you say it on the first date? Do you say it when you're talking on the phone? Like,
yeah.
when?
I get that question all the time. Honestly, I
Yeah.
feel like it is your comfortability level, but I think that you can't wait too long because
Yeah.
like for me, I've been in situations where I waited too long to find out, oops, we're not on the same page,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then so I learned early on like, okay, this is something that's important to me. On the first
Mhm.
date, no. It's
Right.
casual. You're getting to know, what's their favorite color? Do they have a job? What do they want?
Yeah.
Like you're finding out little things.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there even a spark? Because I mean, attraction's important, right? So you're just
Mhm.
finding out some of those little things. But when you start to see, like, oh, okay, I might like
Mhm.
this person, I'm feeling them. We seem like we have some things in common. I
Yeah.
think that you should, be okay to ask those questions. And I do have a book, a dating guide actually for singles. And I talk about
Oh,
some of that stuff,
perfect.
like first dates and how to ask those questions and questions to ask. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you got to fill it out. You got to be conscious of it. You
Yeah.
don't wait until the last minute until you're already like 3 months
In
into the
love, right?
relationship, in love. He's the perfect person. And you're like, ooh, maybe we should talk about this. Even before you meet anybody, have it in
Yes.
your mind that these are my limitations. And
Yeah.
anybody who comes in my life, I'm going to trust that God's going to bring the right person. So this is going to be a conversation eventually. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then
Yeah.
just trust God to show you how to go about doing that. But I will say for the ladies specifically, if he is, serious about you, if he has a clear mind and a clear heart and good intentions, he will make that clear that that's
He
even a
will.
conversation that you all need to be having. He will
Yes.
definitely make it clear that
Yeah.
he desires to walk with you
Yeah.
through this life journey. So
Yeah. I mean, and you make a great point because when I met my husband, I didn't have to bring the conversation up. He brought it up.
Wow.
And that
Okay.
was the first time that ever happened. I always
Wow.
brought the conversation up. So for me, that right there was very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
He actually brought it up. And just for him to say, like, hey, I'm not having sex until we're married. If we do get
Wow.
married, I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously I've been in relationships where, we have said we're gonna wait, and sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
have failed, right? In one of
Mm.
my relationships. So, that conversation came up, but this is the first one where he's like, I'm just gonna let you know, I'm gonna honor you until marriage. And it's not
Wow.
just because of what you think. I'm honoring God first and foremost. And so that for me was like a game changer. I was like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
okay.
Thanks,
So
God.
yeah, like thank you, Lord. But I got to the point where I wasn't afraid to have those conversations. And I think you have to know your value, and that your value and goals are greater than losing a relationship that wasn't meant anyway. And I
Mm.
think sometimes when we're afraid of that, sometimes we don't bring it up because we're like, ooh, this might turn him off. Or, well, good,
Yes.
because then that means he's not the one for you because you guys don't have
Yes.
same goals.
Yes.
So yeah, it's how important is it to you, or do you just
Ooh.
want to settle because you're like, oh, but he's this, he's that, I don't want to lose him. Okay. But if you start compromising who you are at the beginning, the whole
Oh,
relationship, you're going to compromise
yeah.
who you are. So
Yeah.
that's something to just be conscious of, because I see women who are like, oh yeah, that's fine, but we ended up getting married. Okay, cool. You ended up getting married. But then along the way, because
Yeah.
he doesn't value what you value, and I'm not talking about sex anymore, but other
Mm-hmm.
things that's important, like maybe your relationship with God or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to compromise,
Yeah.
so you're going to have to do what you did to get them to keep them. So
Ooh. Oh
yeah.
my goodness. You just said some, like, we could literally talk just about this for so long because
Yes.
there is such a need for that place in relationships where you hit that crossroad. It's like an indicator that goes off, almost like
Yes.
and when you're in the car, when the tires blow out, it's like, okay, do I get out of this car? Do I get
Yeah.
off this journey? What do I do? Because now I got to deal with loneliness. Now I got to delete all the pictures out of the cell phone,
Yep. Yep.
unfriend this person. Maybe I became good friends with their family and their friends. I have to do this whole tearing apart process, and that's difficult. So I
Yeah.
think we do need to talk more about how, people, and not just women, men
Yeah.
and women can really choose what they value
Yeah.
over anything else and be
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah.
Whew, that's so good. I wish I would say that, but I'm gonna move on.
Okay.
Um, so I want to talk about what inspires you
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
creatively, because you do have so many things going on. And like you said, you can kind of do anything because you're an actress and
Yeah.
that's what we do. But when it speaks to you, when it inspires you, that's when you can really connect with it. So tell me about
Yeah.
the things that inspire you creatively,
Yeah.
and how you keep that fire going, if that
For
makes
sure.
sense. Yeah.
I would definitely say, and I always go back to empowering women, but
Mhm.
just being a part of ministry for a while, you see so much brokenness.
Yeah.
And particularly all women, but really being single, I've seen that a whole lot,
Yeah.
struggling with being single and with their identity, their purpose, their value.
Mhm.
And so for me, that inspires me. Anything that I can do to help, to encourage, to motivate for them to have a fuller life, more joyful life, whole
Yeah.
life, to be whole in Christ, to know that their identity comes from their creator. I'm so motivated by that. So it's funny because there's projects that I've actually been a part of, and I stepped
Mhm.
back from it because it was a cute project, but the end game for me, it wasn't motivating because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just a cute project. But at the end, is somebody changed? Is somebody inspired? Is
Yeah.
somebody want to, encouraged to go on another day? And
Mhm.
of course, that's not the standard for everyone, and it doesn't have to be. But at this point in my life, I'm just there. So
Yeah.
if I ever do take on someone else's projects, it would be something that really motivates me because it's helping someone else. So I'm so inspired just by helping someone else to move forward in life, to be healed, to be delivered, to move on,
Mhm.
to be their best selves. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
How were you introduced to this realm of entertainment and performing?
yeah,
Like you said, you grew up, you have a background in musical theater, but
yeah,
like, did you watch someone on TV? Was someone in your family musical? How did you become introduced?
yeah,
Because a lot of your ministry flows through this, or a
yeah.
lot of this flows into your ministry. So how did you become introduced to this world?
Yeah. So my father is musical. Yes.
Okay.
So he writes music, and he says he doesn't sing, but he sings, but he never wants to sing.
Yeah.
And he plays the guitar and the bass. So I grew up, he had a studio growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But music wasn't really my first thing as far as singing or writing. I never knew I could write as
Okay.
far as music until probably I was 16. I knew that I could write. I was good at English, as far as I made A's and all that. I could write a
Yeah.
story. But as far as music, I didn't know. But it really started when I was about 3. Every time that my family got together, it's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I would put on my grandfather's hat and get his
Yeah.
cane, and I would sing "The Blues Will Make You Happy, the Blues Will Make You Sad," and I would just do this song all the time for my family, and they were like, "She likes to perform,"
Yeah.
And so people actually grabbed me to perform for things. So when I was in kindergarten, people were like, the instructors were, "Can you dance? Can she do this?
Mm-hmm.
Can she be a little cheerleader mascot?" So I
Yeah.
started to realize, okay, I'm good at these things. And I will never forget, at one of our Black History programs, one of the teachers asked me and my best friend to do a dance.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know how to choreograph dance. We were like in second grade.
Mm-hmm.
But someone who lived across the street, she had point shoes. She did ballet professionally. She
Wow.
helped us. And when I saw her, like on her point shoes, and I fell in love, and that was it. I started
Mm.
professional dance lessons, and then it started from dancing, then getting into choir, and then getting into plays, and then I went
Yeah.
to a performing arts school in middle school, and got into it in high school, and then went to Columbia for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
I just loved it.
Oh my goodness. That
Yeah,
moment, that first moment that spark happens
yeah,
is so important.
it
And
is.
yeah, it reminds me of so I have two moments really. So
Yeah.
one of my first moments as a kid, I saw the movie Polly, which was
Oh
Pollyanna, but it
yeah,
was the black version of
yeah.
Pollyanna with Felicia Rashad and
Hmm.
and Rudy. I call her Rudy, but she's
Yeah.
Felicia Knight.
Yeah, Rudy.
Yeah, and they were dancing and singing, and the scene where she injures herself. Like, I was so obsessed with that movie. Like, I'm like, I just
Yeah.
need to injure myself so I can have like this
Oh.
dramatic this dramatic comeback in life. Like, that's what I was thinking. It was that moment. And then also my mom is really involved in the arts and
Yeah.
fashion more so, and so I grew up doing shows,
Oh
doing her
wow.
shows.
Yeah.
And for this one show, she had it at this big venue, and they had a Whitney Houston impersonator perform.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was backstage watching that woman. Like, when she first came out in the outfit, I could have sworn it was Whitney Houston. And I
Wow.
just fell in love with
Oh
how she was
wow.
able to
Wow.
engage the audience. It's like those moments that just changes a kid's life. Like, oh my, that is
Yeah.
what I want. I want to be
Yeah.
able to touch people that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, it definitely, when it's in you like that, it definitely carries over into everything that you do.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you can't get away from it. Um, so you are very passionate. Like, anything that I see you do, you are like 150% with it, which I love. So what kind of advice could you give for those who are creative? They love the
Yeah.
arts, but for some reason they just are distracted. Maybe they're just having
Yeah.
difficulty, tapping into that zone, staying with
Yeah.
it. What would
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
say to somebody who wants to create something
Yeah.
and they're just in a rut?
Yeah, I would definitely say make goals. I'm such
Yeah.
a person about looking, like seeing your vision before
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah.
yeah, put it on a board, write it on the wall, see it every day, and write a
Mhm.
deadline. Make a deadline. Because
Yeah.
when sometimes I don't make a deadline, it's 5 years later. And it's like, really, you should have been done with that. Make a
Yeah.
deadline, but also have little small markers along the way that show that you are progressing, and reward
Mhm.
yourself for those things, and
Yeah.
have an accountability partner. So
Yeah.
how's that book coming? Okay, how's
Mhm.
that book? You're like, are you serious? Leave me alone. But how
Yeah.
is that book coming? Like, your deadline is in 3 weeks, and it may seem annoying, but
Mhm.
it's so helpful if it's hard to stay motivated. And but like I said, for me, it's so much better when you could say, when I finish this book, I am going to take myself here, or I'm going to buy myself that. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool if you're motivated by things or experiences.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, so you have to find something that helps you. But like, I would say definitely have little markers along the way showing I'm progressing.
Okay.
Because sometimes when I have a big goal, it
Mm-hmm.
can get discouraging when it seems like, oh my God, I have 500 pages left versus you
Yeah.
finished a chapter
Right.
and so I would definitely say you have to celebrate even the small victories too. So
Okay, that's so good. So
yeah,
now I want to tie it back to Single Woman Chronicles. And
yeah,
I want to ask you to speak directly to those women who are going to come see the
yes,
production, the play, hear the monologues. And really, I don't even want to call it a play because I feel like
yeah,
it's going to really resonate as a real life thing with so many
yeah,
people. To the people who are going to come hear these stories, just say there's someone who's struggling and they
hmm,
feel like, this season is too hard. I thought I could do it, but maybe
yeah,
it's just not for me. I see people out here who haven't taken these vows in singlehood, who
yeah,
are not trying to just say live a life that would be pleasing to God, just say,
yeah,
and they seem to be doing fine. They're doing whatever they
yeah,
want to do, and
mhm,
life seems to be going great for them. And maybe that's I need to try that way.
yeah,
Maybe I would be more fulfilled that way. So
yeah.
what would you say to somebody who's just struggling relationally?
Absolutely. So we're definitely going to, so glad you said that because we're definitely going to explore that situation
Yeah.
because I think I will just talk about my experience personally.
Mhm.
Sometimes it seems like people who sometimes aren't honoring God or just like you said, they just out there doing their
Yeah.
thing in their singleness. Look like they having more fun.
Yeah.
They like, they living it up. And
Mhm.
sometimes it can appear that way, but you really never know what they're truly going with.
Yeah.
Living with or dealing with. So for example, it was a time where I was like, okay, I'm done with trying to live the good
Mm.
way or, pure, godly, or even just trying to have my standards for integrity.
Mhm.
And when I did that, after a while, you have fun for a season, but
Yeah.
after a while, ladies, I felt more emptier than ever.
Wow.
Like I didn't feel better. I mean, I was fooling myself in the process,
Mhm.
thinking like now I'm living like this girl. She seemed like she's having, a great life and she's just having so much fun, all these men. But you're going to end up feeling lonelier than ever,
Yeah.
and more broken. So I would definitely say, I know it's hard, but the wait is so worth it. Like when
Mhm.
God blesses you with that one he has for you,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, it was so worth it because he's going to bless you with something so much greater than what you thought was possible. So
Yeah.
definitely don't give up.
That's so important though what you said about just keeping busy, and not that you want anything to
Yeah.
become just too much or out of balance, but I do think it's important to be intentional about your time and
Yeah.
really stay focused on your end goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How would you want your marriage to look? How would you
Yeah.
want your future to look?
Yeah.
And what would be the ingredients that are needed for
Yeah.
that cake
Yeah.
of success? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hmm.
Is it somebody who doesn't value the things that you value? Not that you're trying to build a bear, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
But
Right.
I definitely think you need to be clear on the kind of influence um
Yeah.
you have in your life. And that
Yeah.
goes from friends, that goes to family, certainly goes for a spouse. Being
Yeah.
intentional about who you surround yourself with, and
Yeah.
spouses are no exemption from that.
Yeah.
We go to bed every night, we look at each other every morning, but that doesn't give them a spot that they don't have to adhere to the top CEO, which
Yeah.
would be God. So if you're
Yeah.
serious about it, you got to stay serious about it.
Yeah.
So can't be halfway, because then you're just gonna make
Yeah.
yourself miserable. So I would say,
You're right. Yeah.
definitely just be consistent, and just trust God and surround yourself with people who have like goals.
Yeah. And I
Because
would feel like too, it does get really hard at times for real, in the
yeah,
trenches of it. You're like,
yeah,
okay, I can't do this no more.
yeah,
But you definitely have to fill your life with things to bring you more joy. Like I
yeah.
was super busy during that time, went
Mhm,
back to school, joined a ministry, started planning trips, started,
mhm.
doing things that are fun intentionally. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to Zoom, but like reading other
Yeah,
women and hanging out. You have to have that because it'll
yeah,
get lonely.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So what is next for you? I know
What
you
is
got
next? Yeah.
I know you have the big thing coming up.
Yes.
But even looking farther ahead, what's next for you? Any new interests? What are your goals?
Yeah, yeah. So with the play, yes, we would like to tour, but also we are doing our first Single and Satisfied conference July of next year.
Oh, wow.
So very excited about that. And in between the shows, we've been doing single woman empowerments. We actually
Mhm.
have one in Fort Wayne next week. So
Okay.
just empowering women, just continuing to write stories. I want to
Mhm.
continue that. So this play won't be the only one. Definitely want to
Mhm.
just continue to create create stories that empower and inspire people's lives. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say you're having your single woman empowerments, what are those? Is that like a pop-up sort of
Yes.
situation?
Yep. So we've been going like from city to city. Yeah. And so
Okay.
it's just a pop-up event. It's about 3 hours. We have a
Hmm.
few speakers. It's just like a pep rally for single ladies,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. Yeah. So we've had a couple of them so far, and we just been going city. We just started though, but we've been going city to city. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that is so cool. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Yeah. So
Mhm.
you guys be sure to connect with Sharbria. Actually, I want you to tell people how they can connect with you
Yes.
online and how they can get tickets
Yes.
to the show.
Awesome. Yes. So you can follow me on all social media at Sharbria Shine, sharbria.com, my website. But for tickets, it would be sharbria.com/SWC the stage play. So sharbria.com/SWC the stage play. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to let you go, but first I want to thank you for still speaking to women in this way, to single women, because you are married now. And
Yes.
and I've seen it happen where, we have strong ministries and then we get what we want to get,
And we're
what
done,
we've been
right?
waiting for, and it kind of dries up, but
Yeah.
you have not been that way. You're still
Yeah.
speaking, you're still empowering, you're still motivating and still building up. So I just want to say thank you for your consistency and having a genuine heart for women.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, friends. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sharbria Shine. She sees a need, she has a passion, and so she creates opportunities for herself to get it done. And that is what I love. So I'm definitely looking forward to her show, Single Woman Chronicles. In the meantime, you can also check out her podcast. It's called Max Out Girl Podcast. And I feel like I said this on the last episode. If you're truly a creative, you need to create. It's therapeutic. So if you find yourself in a rut, try reading. Reading gives you language to things. And when we read something, we naturally see it in our mind. I'm a believer that language shapes thought. And so sometimes we know what it is, we can feel it, we can sense it, but we just haven't put a language around it yet. So reading and doing research helps us to identify those things that we maybe want to produce. So read something just to get those wheels spinning and get those juices flowing. But don't wait for an opportunity. If you want to be a writer, write. I feel like Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act 2. They were going through some back and forth, and Rita just felt like, she was struggling to find her identity, as a singer. She said, you know what? If you wake up in the morning and you can't think of anything but singing first, then you're a singer. It's as simple as that. If you wake up in the morning and that's at the top of your mind and you have all these ideas and all this passion, just do it. You don't have to wait for a cosign. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait to get noticed by your mentor or the people that you admire from afar. Know who you are before the opportunity comes so that you can be prepared. All right, that's all I have for today. We'll talk really soon. Thank you for listening and watching.